Scott, you want to mute your video on YouTube?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Now we're good?
Yeah. Yep, we are. So, Hey, everyone. We're here a little bit early with Scott Flanders. He's going to be sculpting. Are you sculpting a horse? I thought you were going to sculpt like a figure today.
It is going to be a rider.
Oh, nice. Okay. So we're going to sculpt, or he's going to sculpt a figure for you. And yeah, he'll be taking questions from chat. So feel free to type in any questions while he's working. And this is all for, the Ukraine benefit. And you actually have one of your sculptures up for sale or up for grabs right now, right? It's the
yeah, I do. It's a hammerhead.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. And that's one that is sort of dear to my heart. So in an effort to support, mostly, honestly, this is more of a homie venture, This is
right.
This is me supporting Stan, my good friend, and just doing my best to contribute in the best way I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So Scott, I'm gonna let you take over essentially, and I'll try to be back here once I start the other stream.
Cool. Okay. Right on. Cool. Thank you, John. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Okay. And to those of you guys who are just checking in, I'm actually still doing a little bit of prep work. It should take me a couple of minutes here. I'm building a quick base and preparing my clay over on the countertop. I'm cutting up a bunch of it with a kitchen knife, getting it prepared into small little cubes that I'll show you in a moment here. So we're starting a little bit early just so I can take this time to do this stuff. Whoops. That's my alarm to pick up my son, but I'm not picking him up today. Mom's gone. I'll show you guys what I'm up to. I'll put it on camera for a second. Let's see here. So I'm using this plasticine clay this time around. And it comes in a big fat brick. And so I'm cutting it up into smaller pieces like this. It's sort of noodly shapes. And then cutting those into even smaller bits so that it's really easy for me to just grab one of these little pellets and apply quickly. But it does take a bit of preparatory work. I'm just doing that real quick. Okay. How you guys doing? I can, just so you know, I can see the chat. So I've got it up on my monitor, like just off camera. So you guys feel free to field questions, chat, whatever, and I can check it pretty easily this time. I've been a couple times in the past where I wasn't quite able to accommodate the questions live as easily because of just limitations in my workstation. But this time got it set up, so it should work. I can chat with you guys. I can sculpt. Yeah, so my thought here is to do some kind of, I got to do something that I can do, for one thing. That's sort of within my wheelhouse. And probably a Minotaur monster is not quite appropriate. I was trying to think of something I could do. And I was doing a bunch of research on Ukrainian folklore. And there's a lot of, the truth is there's a lot of overlap with surrounding regions, historically over time. And so there's some things that look, not being that close to the culture. I can't necessarily tell in every case what I'm looking at and if it's genuinely representative of like a historical reference point or like a cultural reference. But I discovered in my research like a group of Cossacks that are like specifically from Ukraine. There's a long horse culture there, like a mounted warrior culture. And so that seemed cool. I'm like, okay, I can do like a mounted warrior. And it gave me an opportunity to study some historical costuming and accessories, gear. I just love that kind of stuff. And then I was looking up, like, I don't know, like I said, I want to do something that's a little bit more symbolic as opposed to just a sculpture of a Cossack guy. So I was looking for something, and I was Googling like what is the national animal? What's the national animal for Ukraine? And you guys should look it up. I'm pretty sure it is. Let me confirm this real quick, the name of it, because I can't. Ukrainian national animal. Yeah, it's a nightingale. And I found that to be pretty cool. There's something about that. Okay, so look it up. It's a rufous nightingale. It's a bird and a little songbird. So there's something super cool to me about that, given what's going on over there right now. Where the sort of like historically or traditionally the symbol of Russia is like a bear, right? Or in the old days, like an eagle. Both of which are like symbols of power, like obvious power, strength, dominance. There's something really neat to me about the idea of the national animal being this like cute little songbird. Google it. Ukrainian national animal is a rufous nightingale. So basically, I'm going to do this mounted warrior, and I thought it'd be fun to put the head of a nightingale on it, this little bird, maybe calling out into the night. So that's the target. Got some reference up here for myself. But again, I'm just prepping my materials here. It's probably going to take another couple minutes. And I can really get in the zone and start applying clay onto my armature. Nice dog. Looks like a horse. That's a horse. That looks like a dog. It's supposed to be a horse. I'm actually, the armature of the skeletal structure, I just took it straight out of, let me show you guys. Some of you students might find this interesting. So there's my horse reference for myself. Very clean, a classic. I think this is Ellenberger. Yeah. Some of you guys probably recognize this. If you don't, you should probably pick it up. This is like a classic, a standard of animal anatomy. So I literally watch this. It's pretty cheesy, but it's, yeah, dude, I got to get this thing done. So I took that armature and built it. Like I mapped it to that skeleton almost exactly. And it'll keep it kind of small and manageable. So it's a horse that looks like a dog. Okay, cool. My bucket of clay is quite full. It's going to overflow. So I'm about ready to start there. I can put the, I've got a bunch of extra, but I just don't have room for my bucket at the moment. Okay. Oh, okay. Hold on just a second, guys. I'm just seeing this in the chat. This is a book. I'm pretty sure I learned about this from either Marshall or Joe Weatherly. Let's see. Ellenberger's Atlas of Animal. My son calls them animals. Animal Anatomy. Boom. And it's pretty cheap. I think it's one of those Dover books. Oh, by Peck? Okay. I think Peck is a different one. Okay. Let's see. I got a bit of a base. You can see here I've got some epoxy putty. This is the stuff from the hardware store. So this is not stuff you'll actually use to sculpt. I've shown this before in other videos. This stuff you use just to like strengthen weight bearing areas or to affix something to the base real quick. It sets up pretty fast, like 15 or 10 minutes, something like that. Pretty quick. But I have to really figure out my pose here, what I want to do. Let's see. Okay. So I'm bringing in a bit of foil just so the base doesn't feel so flat, you know. As it is, it's a bit like, I don't know, a bit boring. I want to be able to lift the feet up. Cool. A little bit of prep time here, guys. Just I was working this morning. Well, please talk about the art on the walls. Sure, happily. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's I see. Is it Chico or Seco? Sicko? Sicko bullet? Chico bullet? Chico bullet? Yeah, that's right. The one on the right is Swamp Thing. It's an original oil painting by Eric Giss. I really like that guy's work a lot. He's really cool. I took like one of those workshops at Watts Atelier a couple of years ago. Well, when I first got my job at Riot, it was kind of almost like a gift to myself to go take that workshop. Just more of a hobby, fun thing. Because I've always been interested in that stuff. But, obviously what those guys do is, it's not something you can like, it's not something you can enter into lightly. Like, it's not exactly a hobby, or at least if you want to do it like they do really well. So that one's by Eric. And let's see here. The other big low painting is by Justin Sweet. The alarm again. I set multiple alarms on my phone. So I don't forget to pick up my son from school, typically, because I'll get so absorbed with work. I will forget. What does the frame drawing in the middle depict? Oh, that one's by my son. The little creature, it's like a two-headed creature. Like he sees a lot of my art with crazy monsters and stuff. So it's pretty funny. Like kids will naturally, they'll emulate you, And I thought that was so sick. There's something so cute about that he would, in trying to be like daddy, he'd make like a crazy monster, but it couldn't, there was no way he could make something that, even in an attempt to be, to make a monster, it still turned out like a cute monster. That made me laugh. Yeah.
Let's see. I've got some questions for you. I don't know if you've answered them yet.
Sure, go ahead. They can all hear, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Chico, I see that too.
Okay. Yeah. So one person wants to know, what does that frame draw? Oh, that was, you were saying your son, right? What does it depict?
I think just a monster. I think like a two-headed monster. Like, let me show you something. Sorry, I'm mixing up some putty. So this painting I did, like I do a lot of these like crazy monsters and stuff. And I don't even know if you can see this. Like a long time ago, I did this crazy two-headed monster painting. And, he sees this stuff around my house.
Yeah.
So I think that was his attempt to make a crazy two-headed monster like Daddy. And I just thought it was awesome. And so I put it on the wall, part of the idea there, like, okay. Sorry guys, I'm like halfway in the zone. I'm just the worst at multitasking. I'm trying to mix up some putty that sets really fast. And so I got to do this really quick. But, if you look at this wall, okay, there's original by Justin Sweet, right? There's a pencil drawing by Justin Sweet I bought when I was like a lot younger. He was like one of my first art heroes, a guy that I really admired a lot and inspired me to want to do this kind of, just do art in general. Original Eric Giss. Another Erica's drawing. A print from one of my buddies, Juan Gedeon, really badass comic book artist. And then a print, by Frank Frazetta. And then I've got all these sculptures by Alec and just, a lot of art by guys I admire. So my thought was, if I put a piece of my son's art in the middle of all of that, I think that'll really motivate him, like make him, it's like put him amongst greats, and then he'll like think he's the shit, and that sounds kind of fun to me. Like get him believing in himself and thinking of himself as someone that could be a great artist someday if he wanted to, and also showing him that like my love for him is greater than my admiration for great art, even. That's the idea, at least.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you think, does he lean more towards drawing, or does he like to sculpt? Do you think more?
It kind of depends. We go through phases. I mean, just like I do.
Yeah.
There's periods where I'm like, man, sculpture's so hard, and I just go back to drawing. And then there's, times where all I want to do is sculpt. And kids are even more like that. They'll like 1 week he's crazy into Pokemon, and the next week he's all about Harry Potter or something, right? And right now he's super into the X-Men, the 90s X-Men, Jim Lee X-Men, because I showed him the 90s cartoon on Disney Plus. So he just wants, actually, let me show you something. Last night, my job, Daddy, I needed to be prepping my armature for this. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, Daddy, you promised me to make me a Wolverine Arm. He calls it an Amachi. Make me an Amachi. I'm like, all right. So I'm like making him this crazy Wolverine armature.
Aww.
Look, let me show you this. Before X-Men, he's super into Sonic the Hedgehog. And so this is probably the best thing he's done so far. He just turned 7.
Wow, that's really good.
Hedgehog movie. And in it, Sonic does like a spinning ball attack at Knuckles. And Knuckles like stops him in midair. And that like moment, he wanted to like sculpt that so bad. It's so funny. So,
that's really good.
For a 7-year-old, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So to be honest, this real talk, this is actually like what I do right now. Is I basically make on my son's armature making bitch, dude. That's what I do. That's what I do. And then he tried to make Sabretooth from the X-Men. That's just supposed to be his like fur mane thing on the back. On a monster clay. This one he did all himself, so there's no armature underneath. But anyways, that's my life. I'm like, but I figure while he's young, you invest a lot when they're young. You help them develop their identities and their values, and you pour yourself into your kids. And then eventually he'll be old enough where he can make his own damn armatures, I can get some work done again.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. He's 7. Ava Pelko just asked. Yeah, he just turned 7 in April.
Oh, nice. Yeah, my son just turned 1 in February.
How's it been?
Oh man, it's been a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been crazy to see him hit different milestones. Parenthood is unlike anything else.
Yeah, it's true, dude.
Oh, by the way, would you want me to play some like lo-fi music in the background while you're sculpting? I don't know if you like to work with music or.
You think? Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, if that's something the kids do these days, go for it, dude. the kids like these days, go for it. And feel free to fill the questions too. I'm just kind of just getting started here. I appreciate the questions, guys. Yeah. Oh, dude, the sculpts on the left, those aren't even mine. Those are Alec Ruby, one of my buddies. And every October we do this event together, this Monstober sculpting event. And at the end of it, he's so funny. He doesn't give a shit about any of the sculpts he does. He's just like going to melt them down. And I'm always like, yeah, bro, don't do that. And so we do kind of like an exchange. And I usually end up basically swiping a bunch of his original sculpts.
Oh, wow.
And I keep them up there. It's like my little gallery of Alec originals. Yeah, Alec's a really talented guy. That's like one of our favorite things we do together. That event.
So how many years have you done the monster? Is it Monster?
Monstober?
Monstober, yeah.
3 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's still kind of in its infancy, but
I don't know. 3's pretty good.
Yeah, it feels pretty good. And every year we're getting a better idea of like how we want to continue to handle it. And like the first year we did it, we sculpted. The idea was to try to sculpt every single day. We were inspired by Simon Lee, like one of our, kind of mentor inspirations. And that was hard as hell. I don't know how he did that. When he did it, I think he did like a month of monsters. Well, he did it because he's Simon Lee, I guess. But
okay.
We did that first time we did it. I think I got to 24 out of 30 or 31. And then like literally just so many sleep deprived nights of trying to do a full sculpture every day. At the time I was working full time at Riot. I was teaching at LCAD. I was trying to be a good dad and trying to do this shit every day. And both of us really burned ourselves out. And so then at the end of it, we were both like, I think I didn't sculpt again for like 3 or 4 months after that.
Oh man.
It's like, hold on, this is a funny question, Scary. She asked, would you ever abandon the lasso tool for $50,000? That's so funny, bro. No, that's not enough to offset like, my career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You give me like 50 million bucks, 5 million. Give me 5 billion, dude, I'll never fucking use lasso tool again. I'll just invest that.
Well, you would probably switch over to just sculpting, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
You're just oil painting and sculpting.
Adapt and overcome.
Try to get better at doing that stuff.
Yeah.
That's so no, but he's asking though. It's like a trade. Like if I give you $50,000, would you stop doing this? It's like, how long is the one-on-one mentorship session? Usually the ones I have only 7 going right now. Through my Patreon. I'm trying to just keep it really small and manageable. And those are supposed to be an hour, but realistically they end up going, sometimes they go 2 hours. Like it's likely to go more than an hour, but I've got a job instead of me and Standard. Collaborating on this new project with Little Bang and stuff, and there's a lot of work to be done, and so that's why I'm not doing as many mentorships. It's just I actually really like doing those. They just don't pay that much, and they don't scale particularly well in terms of like just can't really it's not something I think that's a good idea to do as like a full-time gig, because the whole value of the mentorships is when I'm able to bring my best sort of like energy and charisma and interest, like genuine enthusiasm and focus, bring that attention to an individual person and help them think through what's going on in their lives and with their art and stuff. And it's hard to do that when you have like a lot of students. Like I was doing that full time maybe a year ago, and I just found I wasn't able to do as good a job, and that bums me out because I care about this stuff and I want to do a good job. What happens in the session? Typically I take all my clothes off first, Then I'll light up a fat stogie. Pour myself a glass of scotch. Just kidding. I don't do any of that. And all kinds of, usually there's a certain amount of it. Realistically, with the first session, a lot of it is just more, we can try to make it quick. I'll try to make it worth your time and the value, not quick, I guess. Try to make it worth your money. But first, we got to get to know each other a little bit. So just, it's kind of unavoidable. Like I have to talk to you a bit and try to understand who you are, what your values are, what you're doing with your life, and what you've been doing, what it is about art that interests you, what you're trying to do with your art. All right, cool. It's coming together pretty good. So one of the first things I'm doing, you guys see on here, I'm using this epoxy putty that sets really fast just to set this guy into the base, because it needs, it's not a very big sculpture. It's kind of like action figure scale, realistically. So I don't really need a really big armature, but it still needs to be secure enough that I can work on it. The mentorships are a lot of fun. Like for reals, they're the most, like I said, I was doing them full time for a couple years after I left Riot. Stan kind of helped me get started with that stuff. And it's some of the most meaningful work I've done in my whole life. Like besides being a dad, like being a father, it's the most meaningful stuff I've ever done. But like I said, it's kind of, it's not, the way I do it, I'm not like, it's not like a class. I'm not like this, how you draw this. It's not really how it goes. It's more like personal, like tailored to an individual, what they're trying to do. It's really about, building a relationship. And like, so the people I'm working with right now, the 7 I'm working with, I've been working with now almost continuously for, I don't know, it's going on 2 years or something. And I've gotten to know them really well and understand what their goals are, and we're friends. And, had some good times together, actually. Some of the guys, we go on, we just went down to La Jolla for a trip that was supposed to be a spearfishing trip that didn't quite work out because of the weather. Before that, we all went on a wild boar hunting trip in Texas in the fall. But, I don't know. The mentorships they're not all the same. Each one's different. Depends on the person. I've got 2 mentorship, former mentorship students. One, Ryan Best, a really good comic book artist. You should look him up, Ryan Best art. And OC Diva. They're like my 2 kindred spirits in terms of UFC appreciation. It's just funny that, I don't know, mentorships are all across the board. Help people find their dream jobs, get their lives together, figure out. I've had a couple people figure out that they didn't want to do art at all. They're like, art sucks, I don't want to do this. But I was like a really useful discovery for them, because you don't waste a lot of time going down some path, banging your head against the wall. Not everybody's cut out for this stuff. How did I learn art? Let's see. Yeah, so Ava, it is just one session. So it's just one session because, it's just, like I said, it's just, at $300 or whatever for me to do, it doesn't really make sense, financially and stuff for me. Like at a certain point it ends up being a lot of time that I need to be spending on our little bang projects, or, just one session is enough. And if it goes, I guess if it goes really well, I suppose I could open up a slot. I want to be careful about committing to that, like establishing realistic expectations with people. Okay. did I learn art? Same way you're probably learning art. Like, I started looking at things that that I really admired, like from games and stuff that I admired, like Warcraft 2. There's a Warcraft 2 art book with a bunch of illustrations by that guy, Samwise or something like that. And they were super cool. It was really rad, black and white illustrations. I mean, now if you go back, I guess compared to, ArtStation Top Row, whatever, it's a different time. Like the amount of art people had access to, the amount of training, tutorials, knowledge, like powerful digital tools, like none of that stuff existed. So at that time, that art was like some of the sickest stuff I had ever seen. And so I spent a couple years just trying to like mostly copying Warcraft art and comic book art, looking at a bunch of Marvel comics. Yeah, Will, David, on Patreon, the mentorship is every month. But like I said, I have those closed right now because it's just, I can't, if one opens up, if someone, dips out, can open a spot, and that happens every once in a while. But right now it's a pretty, committed group of people, I guess. So I'm not planning to open them up at the moment because I'm working with Stan and Taylor Olivas and Alec Ruby on this Little Bang project, Very Heroes. And, we're building an IP, and it's a lot of work. We've set out to do, I don't know if you guys know anything about NFTs, but usually it's just like one character's face and they put a bunch of shit on him and that's it, right? And there's like hundreds of different pictures of a guy's face. But, we're actually trying to build an IP, like something fun with real characters that people care about. And, we're basically building all the assets of a video game, but without, the additional costs of tons of engineers and programmers and animators and riggers and, just everything else that comes along with making a full-scale game. But as far as art assets, we got a lot to do. A lot of work. Okay. So I can't. Yeah, again, that's why I'm interested. It's not practical. I was saying, when I feel like I'm doing a good job is when I don't feel like I'm in a rush, and it's not like, that's the end of your hour, later, bye, boom. That always feels weird to me. So they always end up going longer, and if they go longer, that cuts into my day. Doing feedback, paintovers, meetings, sending emails, blah blah blah, all that stuff that you got to do. That's why Stan doesn't do mentorships, and I think he did them a lot at one point, and the same reason this is, he just has too much stuff going on. You can't do it. It would be unwise to many people that need it. Okay, this is starting to get pretty sturdy. Cool. Scott, real question: How much to shave your head? Dude, I'm not doing that. Christian is young and has plenty of hair. My hair is honestly beginning to thin, guy. I'm 38 now. So that sucks. Or I'm going to be 38 this year, I guess. The COVID years, I forgot about them. But yeah, I'm getting to that age where the hair is not as thick, bros. The hair is not as thick. But I want to keep all of it as much of it as I can. Christian's pretty funny though. I think that's cool that he did that. How much for you to shave your head, Chico? I'll pay for that shit, dude. You do it. Post it on social media and I'll donate. How much, guys? Rock the bald look. I don't know. I still like to have more kids someday. So, Chico, for reals, how much do you shave your head, dude? When I'm good enough to be a professional, you get me a job and I'll shave. And I get me a job. Okay. You guys want to talk about that stuff, like how to get a job? It's always a classic talking point. From my perspective, it always just is going to come back to one thing, which is you need to just get good enough. It sounds so simple, but you just have to be good enough that people will pay you, for your work. Like, I know that sounds so silly, but that is it. Like, you just have to be good enough that your work qualifies for an exchange of goods and services, And if you're not getting work and nobody's paying attention to your art, like, the brutal truth is that your work's not that good yet. And that's totally normal. And there's nothing to be ashamed of there. Like, that's how it worked for me. It's how it works for everyone. Start off in it first, and what'll happen is, what can be frustrating is you start to get to a place in your education and your skills where you're like pretty good. Like, a lot of you guys are probably pretty good. Any of you are paying attention to stuff like this, you've probably begun to develop some skills. But you're at this place as a kind of a plateau. Like, it's that I think of it as a valley of shadow, life and death. It's this period it's like the greatest period of struggle in an artist's life, when you're like, okay, you're pretty good, but you're not like that good. And it's hard to actually see what it is that's missing about your stuff. That is the key missing ingredient. And getting beyond that point is part of what, will make you a pro. Is developing the ability to see what's wrong in your work so that you can start to address it, like, proactively. And the ability to do that, it's part of what distinguishes a professional from an amateur, because a professional can be given a task and they will figure out a way to solve the problem. Even if it's not not always the best way, a professional will come up with an answer that can work. And a lot of times, like, an amateur, a younger person won't be able to do that. What brush are you using? Wow, I'm obviously not good enough. That's funny. Well, I don't know that. I haven't seen your work. I'm just saying, like, that's a brutal thing to hear. Like, people don't like to hear that, especially younger people. You're young, and a lot of the priority is to invest in self-belief, commitment, to push through, not give up. Keep going. And that's true, and that has a lot of value. Like, that part is necessary. But ideally it comes along with an equally developing level of self-awareness that will equip you to be able to, improve and see where things are not quite going right, what you got to do. So, and that really is, I don't know, maybe more important even than becoming a good artist. It's like just becoming a better human, like a better person, and like a grown-up, becoming like an adult. That's part of it. Like, it's going to help you in your relationships, help you with your family members, with your friends, with your work, with your jobs, like all of it. That part doesn't necessarily come easy. Usually it comes through like hardship. That's a base level of knowledge you need to get a job in. A lot of the same things that other people probably have mentioned, like you need, think about for characters, entertainment design, majority of characters that we care about are humanoid to some degree. Even the animal characters are oftentimes, they're anthropomorphized. So what that means is you need to spend time like understanding people and what makes a good character design. You got to know anatomy. You got to know how to render. You got to have a good understanding of like what makes an appealing shape. You gotta have like base level knowledge of your subject matter. Yeah, if you're doing sci-fi, it helps to have some exposure to that genre. It's good to take some graphic design classes. Like when I say design, like that's a good place to be exposed to some. Most graphic design teachers will expose you to some basic design principles that are going to be useful if you've never been exposed to them before. General draftsmanship and mark making is pretty important. Like that's something I just didn't have any knowledge about. Like just didn't even know that was like a thing I needed to think about for a long time. Wait, real quick, I have to wash this epoxy putty off my hands real quick while this is setting up. Stick on camera. When I get back, I should be able to start putting. Should just be like 5 minutes. I'm gonna wash my hands off. Basic horse armature is set in place using epoxy putty. I've got my main, mass, basically the rib cage blocked in. I put a bit of epoxy putty on like the hips and the scapula, so it's easier to. It'll take clay easier later. Okay, perfect. I'm learning anatomy literally right now. I'm listening to the stream. That's awesome. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I took a lot of classes with Marshall Vandriff. He's the man. Like, there's a reason everybody loves him. You should take classes with him if you can. Get all the good anatomy books, the main books, and then you got to get in there and start drawing. Work from a model, a life model. Okay, right back. Sorry. Okay, back. What is your favorite? You followed me on Instagram. Does that mean I'm good enough? Probably. Probably just. Let's see. I'm learning. Or you liked a bunch of my shit. Like a lot of times when someone, is like, I don't know if that's you. When people do that, it's like, you're like, oh, that's not, it's like, that's nice. The polite thing to do is, if they're supporting you, support them. Okay, here we go. Putting on the clay. So remember, I've got my nice big bucket here of plasticine, whatever. I don't know. Honestly, I get confused. I don't even remember if it was plastilina or plasticine. I think it's plasticine. Using a mix of Proko videos and books. Yeah, I mean, that's the way to go, guys. I don't know if I'd go to art school these days, really. A lot of people are saying that. There's a lot of truth to it. It's just a lot of money. And you can end up in a lot of debt. All right, move this. Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm setting up my books. How do you ensure that you don't wipe out any of the mark-making pesticles while sculpting? Well, honestly, that's one of the reasons why I use the apes a lot, because that stuff cures up solid, so that I can keep those marks. But it comes at a cost that I've been learning over the last couple of years. In that, because it sets up so solid, it's difficult to correct stuff. And like I was just talking to you guys about, you gotta, knowing anatomy, structure, good design, all that stuff is important. And pardon me. And that same goes for sculpting. And I'll work on a sculpture during Monstober. It's kind of like a marathon. So sometimes I'm not always paying attention as much. I'm not always really, I don't know. I'm going kind of fast, I guess, is my point. And sometimes stuff's kind of sloppy. But I do have a desire to try to make some really good sculptures. It'd be cool to do that. To make some truly great. That would be cool to have an urge to do that, to make some truly great sculptures. And to do that, you got to get just takes time, patience. You got to plan a bit. You got to get your understructure better. Already, I probably fucked up already. I can see it ahead of time, because I had to do this kind of quick. In order to plug this character into the base, I'm probably missing about half a centimeter, or maybe half an inch or a quarter of an inch of length on the horse's body, on his legs, that I think I should probably have. That would be better. And if I just had a better understanding of horse anatomy, more committed to memory, I have an okay one, but not an amazing one, not like Marshall or Bryn Matheny or someone like that. I still have to. It's not like it's wrong to use reference, but I still have to rely on it if I want to actually make a good looking horse. I have my book up in front of me here. Favorite ice cream flavor? Sorry, you keep asking it. Favorite ice cream flavor? Dang, there's a lot of things. I'm trying not to be as fat. COVID got me fat. I'm serious. It's not just COVID. Stress. New job. I've taken this little dang thing. Just a lot of responsibility and a lot to do. A lot of work. A lot of new problems to solve and stuff. And I didn't realize it. I forgot that I have a beard a lot of times. And a beard can hide your true state. The true state of fatness. And I shaved it off, and I was like, oh shit, I don't like the way that looks. So, real talk, Scott's not trying to eat ice cream right now. But if I was, would he? I really like that, like Thrifties. I don't know if any of you guys are from the US, but at Thrifties or Rite Aid, there's this like chocolate malted crunch. And I really like that. That's pretty good. What's my favorite kind of clay? For the last couple of years, it's been the Aves Epoxy Sculpt. I'll show you guys. It's this stuff. Working on some sculpture now. It's a hard. I don't know if you'll see this whole guy on camera. It's this. You know the putty that I was putting on the base of the sculpt at the beginning? It's kind of like that. And that's a solid, hard and solid. And like I'll show you, check this out. Listen to this. Or better. See this? So it's hard. You know, where the clay here I'm working with, this Pozzolana, this is very soft, and this will never hard. It will get tougher, but it will never truly cure. And you know, both have strengths. Like the thing, me and Alec often lament this, that like there's no clay that has like all the things we love, that has like everything we want. Each clay has its own like has its own merits, like strengths and weaknesses. I've been playing with monster clay more. Just monster clay is really waxy and nice for practicing rendering and stuff. But it's still probably the Aves. I just need to get better at using it. That's the truth. Like I just bought, oh man, check this out. This book just came in. Clay Sculpting with the Schiffler brothers. Also, there's a demo in here by Simon Lee, Aris Colacantes. I don't know if that's actually how you say his name. Aris Colacantes. Forrest Rogers. But this book has been so much fun. Like it just came through. I pre-ordered it a long time ago, and it's finally come through. It's getting delivered all over the place. All my friends have ordered, and we've all been geeking out. But honestly, this is probably the most comprehensive guide to sculpting, like analog, with traditional sculpting mediums that I don't know, maybe that I've ever read. And I guess I'm showing you because, like, when I look at this, I'm like, those motherfuckers can sculpt. These guys can sculpt. Like, I want to be better. Like, I want to be like that someday. But I also love this, and this is where I kind of am pulled at the moment, is trying to find the right kind of clay, just trying to understand how to do this guy, Patrick Diaz, probably my favorite living sculptor. I should Google his stuff. He's on Instagram. It's kind of like Bugatti. I think it's Bugatti. No, I don't think I'm messing up on the name. It's been a while. I'm trying to find a good photo. But this guy's stuff is like, it's as impressionistic as it gets while still maintaining really good shape, design, and power. Let me try to find it. Look at this. Look at that juice. Juice. Delicious. It's like, all the forms are there. It reads like incredibly accurately. It's so impressionistic. There's so much life in the surface quality. And my real personal sort of, aim or dream is to try to combine what's cool about like this kind of subject matter, like, you know, fantastical stuff with impressionism. Like that's what I want to try to do. And I just haven't quite cracked the code yet because it's really hard. And I'm fucking around with lasso tool too much. So anyways, back to the horse. That's my. I think it's good to in the mentorships we'll talk about stuff like that. So, you want to have like goals for yourself with your art, like what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go, what kind of artist you want to be. Even if you don't hit them, if you never hit them, it's really useful to just have some idea of something to aim at, right? Something to aim at. Somewhere to invest your time. If you know what you love, what you really value, not just what you like. There's a lot of great art out there that we like. But there's only some art out there that really represents what I feel that I would, I don't know, like want to connect myself to in a psychological or like emotional way. That want to, I think of it like this, like next time you're geeking out over art on Instagram and ArtStation and stuff, ask yourself a question when you're looking at something and your, you know, when your lizard brain is being hijacked by sexy anime art. Not there's anything wrong with that, but ask yourself, like, I like this. I'm responding positively to this, but is this representative of like what I want to do, or the kind of art I want to make? Because it's an important question, because you know we're being bombarded by influences, like all kinds of stuff all day long. And there's a reason that billions, genuinely billions of dollars is spent on advertising. It's a huge industry. That's why, you know, so much money is spent on political campaigns, because they know that this shit they're doing works on us. It's affecting our values, like how we think about things, who we are, the way we spend our money, and our cast our votes, and our values, all that stuff. The same is true of art. You know, if that stuff's true of like politics and you know, money, like the way you spend your soul. If that's true of commerce, right, and politics, be damn sure it's true of art and creativity. So, yeah, my point there is that if you look at stupid art, you're going to have stupid art values. That's like the kind of fucked up, simple way to put it. So it helps to have goals and align yourself with great art and great artists and great vision. Try to develop a great vision for your art. Because even if you never attain it, that process of trying to figure it out is going to be invaluable. What kind of job opportunities are out there for traditional sculpture? Not a lot. Like, you know, to be very candid, like that's not why I'm doing this. The idea is not like, oh, I want to get in on the traditional sculpting, you know, I want to get in on the Simon Lee game. Like that's not realistic for most people these days. That is Simon Lee can do that because he is a beast, you know. And that's not like, you know, I don't know, it's just not. He defies a guy like that defies the norm. There's a reason everybody's using 3D and ZBrush and stuff these days. And I would encourage any of you who are interested in, you know, working in entertainment, you need to get involved in 3D. You need to get involved in, honestly, this, I don't know, you may not want to hear this, but you get involved in this AI art stuff. I know it's frustrating for people, the AI and the NFTs and all these crazy, like there's some crazy changes going on right now, guys, and you got to pay attention to them, because they're going to change. They're going to change everything. Now I'm seeing AI art that legitimately rivals, something you might consider to be legit concept art, like more conventional concept art. And it's not going away. It's going to be, the first director to use AI as his production designer for his horror film. It's going to make a shit ton of money. The first indie game to do the same thing, have all their concept art be generated by AI. That stuff is going to be huge. And think about it. Part of the reason it's going to be so valuable is that it cuts costs, which is always, money always seems to be an important thing driving changes. Just think about it like this. Like if you're the young person trying to come up with their own IP, their own cool, brand new original IP, and you don't have a lot of money, right? Like you're in school, you have a basic kind of a normal young person job, but you have all these big ideas. Well, in the future, you're going to be able to go get access to what's equivalent to an outsourced concept or outsourced production team, and you're going to be able to, have access to all that for fucking, so cheap, because there's no man hours. There's very little man hours involved. So traditional sculpture for me it's more about like foundations. It's more about creativity, like getting in touch with my creative roots and satisfying myself, creatively, like doing something that makes me feel good about art. It's not about selling it, really. It's about making it. It's about making the thing. That's not looking bad. But okay, so after all that rant, we'll come back. Watson Fit. There are opportunities for sculpting, but they're just few and far between. So like there are still people doing traditional, maquette sculpting in production departments, for companies like Disney and Pixar and probably Blue Sky, a lot of those places. Like that's still a thing. It does exist. There are still tons of miniature companies. That's a big space. Granted, more of that is also going to ZBrush, a lot of it, but it doesn't mean that the traditional guys can't, aren't still getting work. But this is a thing to think about. The artists who are really achieving a lot of success in those fields still using traditional media have all been doing it a long time. So think of it like this, you could get good enough to do that. Probably going to take you, could literally take you like 10, 20 years till you're as good as Simon Lee or the Sheffield brothers or Andrea Blasich. I don't know exactly. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but it's going to take a while. And imagine what's going to happen out in the world in terms of technology in the time it takes you to become proficient enough to be able to sculpt on par with, any of those, with that competition. Get it? It's like, we're going to have ZBrush 8,000, ZBrush 8 million by that time. It's just, I'll have to make an adjustment in the picture. So I don't mean that the idea is not like doom and gloom. It's not worth it to pursue this stuff. It's totally worth it to pursue this stuff. There she is, OC Diva, Erica Langworthy. What's up, girl? Rick Baker is a good example. He's going from classical creature makeup and also using a lot of ZBrush and 3D printing now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well said. Yeah. Is his studio just called Rick Baker Studio, Erica? So basically, you can like kind of plug, you know, students to go check that stuff out. It's worthwhile. He's like, that's the studio that did like basically every rad sci-fi movie. The last like, 20 years or something, I think. I think so. Erica's the artist I mentioned. She my UFC homie. Are there any good fights coming up this weekend, Erica? Or is it just waiting for Teixeira and Yuri Prochaska? As Yuri Prochaska, Jiri Prochaska, guys. Right. So far, I've been keeping it all thumb, but go back to my tool and hit some of these shapes. Thank you for the answer. This is Watson Fett. Thank you for the answer. I see Weta and ILM Stan Winston are still making tradition from time to time. Just curious on this. Yeah, they do, and I think the guys that do, it's like either like I suspect it's probably because of a director who's kind of a fan of that stuff, like Guillermo del Toro or something, right? Like he just loves to be surrounded by great art. It's a part of his process. You know, he like builds that into his budget so he can just be creative and do cool shit. And I imagine there are some directors that don't give a crap, and it's more about that. You know, that's not necessarily something they're like trying to. It's not something they maybe value as much. They just want the good answers. That's what matters most. Where a guy like Guillermo, he wants the good answers, but he also wants the creative process to unfold, wants to be a part of the creative process. And that's how I am, like, and same with Stan. Like, when we're doing this little bang project, there's like, you know, Stan's quite a successful guy, and you know, this studio, this team, Little Bang, it's about being creative together. That's what it's really about, is us making cool shit. Maybe, you know, like a guy could just retire, you know, that's like a guy could retire. And but he loves this stuff. He loves art. He loves art. And being creative and making things and working with people. And I kind of see it very similarly. It's like there are ways that are maybe more strategic to get something done, or like, you know, faster ways to get answers. But but that's not always what it's about. You know, ideally, like ideally, but I imagine that for a lot of you, the reason you're getting involved in art is because you love it. And, you know, you have like fond memories that become a part of who you are, your identity when you're growing up. And you have a lot of happy memories about being an artist. Like it's something you love to do. And I mean, do you think you want, if you don't want that to just stop as soon as you become successful or as soon as you learn a really cool, new, efficient tool? It's like the opposite. You want to have creative whole life. The sculpt is like a 3D version of the Marshall Vander forces. Thanks. It's high praise. I love Marshall. Marshall's the best. He had a big, I don't know him that well, but he had a big, he just made a big impression. He's just a cool guy. A lot of enthusiasm and love for what he's doing, and honestly made a big impression on me in terms of like what good teaching looks like. He's a very good teacher. The sculpted. Oh, that's the question. Give me more questions, guys. Give me another question. I've been doing this like cheesy, I don't even know, like some kind of Batman mobster voice or something I've been doing with my son. I don't know why. We've both been stuck on it, calling each other names in this kind of like stereotype of a mobster accent. You're a tomato. You're a juicy tomato. You're the juiciest tomato that ever got thrown on a stage. That's what we do. It's nice to be part of a good group of folks working hard together and being around peeps who are more skilled in the different areas. Awesome. Yeah, I agree. I'm using, let me see, let's go. I threw away the wrappers. Let's see. It's pretty standard stuff. You've probably seen, most of you guys have probably seen it somewhere. Plastilina. I've seen it at most craft stores. Never hardens, sulfur free. Sounds good to me. Get this neck going. Horses are cool. Yeah, what's nice about this clay air cut is it's very malleable. Like it's not, unlike the Aves. The Aves, I really like Aves, but it's gummy, and it's before it sets, it's quite gummy, and that is a pain in the ass. It makes it a real pain in the ass while it's setting up. And then after it sets, it's permanent. So I've kind of learned trial and error, like seeing, it's not exactly user friendly. I made videos about it, introducing people to it, because I've been really stoked about it. But I've just seen that it's not the best place to. I wouldn't say it's the best starting material. If you do, you just gotta maybe have some guidance or something. I love it. Have you ever tried other art forms other than drawing, painting, and sculpting? What do you mean, Chico? Like a dancing? Singing? I have not. I mean, I sing in the shower. I sing to my kid. But no, not like. Not like for real. Okay, I put some clay on this side because yeah, monster clay, Erica. I wouldn't do the crock pot thing. I saw the Steady Craftsman do that. I don't think I'd do it that way because it just gets too hot. It turns liquid. I just put it in the microwave. It's perfectly fine to put it in the microwave, but you just have to be cautious about how long you put it in for, and you have to, just microwaves heat things up from the inside. Same with clay. So you get these like lava bubbles inside of monster clay, and that sucks. You can get hurt. So that's something I've shared with my son. I kind of shown him the ropes, like how to use it and stuff. But that's how I always did it. It works perfectly fine. Does it do it? Anything like music could be dancing or I have messed around with like electrical like music, like in Ableton Live and stuff when I was in my 20s. I started to mess around with that stuff. But it was also a period when I was starting to realize I was going to have to start specializing and stop screwing around and doing weird stuff like that. Because it's like I wanted to get better at 2D art. I wanted to draw and paint. And I wasn't, putting in the time to get better at that. I was like dicking around in Ableton Live. It's not that it was wrong. It's just like a period in my life where I had to kind of make a choice. And I think that's pretty normal in artists' lives. I may have bacon scented. That's funny. That's pretty funny. Sounds good. So really, I'm in a block-in stage right now, guys. Like, just doing things. Getting my masses established. catching up on the stream. Just want to say hello. What's up, Iva? Thanks for checking in. Cool of you. Favorite? Ooh, that's fun. Favorite mythical creature or monster? You guys first. Type it in there. So I'll share. I definitely do. I could geek out about that shit a long time. You guys go first. Here we go. Oh, werewolves. True. Erica was working on a werewolf themed project actually with her mentorship. Really cool. I won't give any spoilers away, Erica. Let's see. Yeah, there's a bunch. Good. And it seems like a little too bright. Just a little better. Okay, I'll do mine. My favorite mythological creature is I don't know, it changed a lot. When I was a kid, it was like griffins. Both griffins, what? I do love lycanthropes, though, like shapeshifters. Thanks, Erica. You'll notice some of you guys, I don't know if you're interested in this, maybe you are, but I'll put on like a primer of clay first on here. It's like I'll take a thin piece like this and then kind of like wrap it around the armature. I say primer because, the point of primer with paint is to help subsequent, like the next layer of paint stick on the surface. Make sure it adheres, grabs and sticks onto what you're trying to paint. And it's the same idea here with a primer of clay. I put on like a thin layer, and then it gives this kind of tacky surface that additional clay can bite onto. Yeah, exactly. Getting good surface things. Okay, back to lycanthropes and shapeshifters, because that's good geeky stuff to talk about that way. I really like where tigers and where big cats and like where bears. Like when I was a kid, Eorn from Lord of the Rings was my favorite character in The Hobbit. He's basically a werebear, skin changer, they call him. There's one thing that's cool about shapeshifters is they always seem to come with a certain kind of like weird, they always come with like weird lore, like weird stories and stuff. And that part I always found fun. And they appear in a lot of folk tales. Like when I was a kid, there was an old girlfriend of mine who had a book about African mythology that she got from her grandma, because her grandma had lived in South Africa for a long time in her youth. And it had a big effect on this, my girlfriend's mind when she was growing up. She was a young girl, ex-girlfriend, a long time ago. And I remember one of the stories focused on like were hyenas or something, or like a were jaguar, or were leopard. Pardon me. Yeah, this is Africa. There's no leopards in South America, and there are no jaguars in Africa. Anyways, I thought that was really cool. That like that kind of there's some stories about Selkies and berserkers and stuff in Scandinavia. And there's stories of similar types of characters in South Africa and in South America, right? Like the jaguar warriors. And so, in the Slavic countries, you have werewolves, and you have bearmen, lichis, and domovoys, and just there's all these like kind of nature shapeshifter type characters. I love that. Just what it shows is that indicates that those kind of figures have been an important part of human storytelling for a very long time. Because, I talked to this about a lot of my former students, mentorship students. Like, for most of human history, the most important information you needed to know was about the natural world, because that was like, that's your immediate, that is your world. And knowing, as much about it really as you could. So that's what made someone like a specialist or a master or a shaman, right? A witch or a wise woman, a wise man. That's how well they understood nature. Some connection to creatures. Stories, like mythological characters that embodied the attributes of these animals that were around us. That was a really normal thing. And a cool thing. It was like cool to be someone that was had strength of the bear, or the keen eyes of an eagle or a hawk. The wisdom of an owl. animals were our primary, I don't know, creative fodder, really. Yeah. So now I'm putting some clay on the base, just because I'm trying to make it. If you're in any fine art classes, any of your art students, you've probably heard your teacher say something like, cover the entire canvas. Like, make sure you're leaving no white behind. Part of that is so your eyes can begin to adjust to relative color and value relationships. Part of it is so your piece you're working on looks better. And right now, in this case, it's kind of making it look a little better. Just having all that tacky foil show through it looks kind of ghetto, you know. And I do these ghetto bases because they're cheap, easy, kind of quick to get together. There's something kind of fun about it. I don't know, like hand built DIY. You know, it's easy to make an armature like this for my son. During Monsterber, it makes it cheaper. Instead of just throwing a bunch of crap away, I turn crap into armatures. Do you play druids in Diablo? I sure do, Erica. I sure do. I can't wait to play the new druid. I sure do. When back in the Lord of Destruction days, Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, I put all my points into Werebear, and I had to like switch out this Werebear. But he was really slow. He had super strong defense. I could almost, you know, invulnerable armor. He was so slow when you got to higher level dungeons in hell that he would just get overwhelmed by enemies, and you just couldn't hit them because they were too fast. And that was kind of lame. It's like I'd put all this points into that guy to make him super tough, and then he'd just sit there. It's like they couldn't kill him, but they would just sit there walking him. Long time, and I had to go back and respec it. I'm excited for the new stuff. Blizzard can stop being crazy. Blizzard stuff. Fucking chill out and start focusing on making games. Ooh. You're still over at Blizzard, right, Erica? Yeah, it's true. Shameless worker. Oh, you'll notice that one of, just so you guys know, you'll notice one of these limbs. Look at that side looks bad. But one of them is longer, this forelimb. I've left it long because you can always clip it later. You know, this is some Schiffler Brothers wisdom. Is just leave the wire long. It's a lot easier to take away than it is to add in terms of your armature. Anybody down? I don't know if you guys are having to listen to this lo-fi stuff. I kind of don't like it. I kind of want to change it to something. I don't know. Is that cool? Can we do that? You mentioned the course about consistently doing ideation, exploration sheets to get better at designing. But how do you consistently come up with ideas to ideate on? Well, I've touched on that in other demos. That's where the list making stuff comes. I don't know how much of that I got into in the Monster Lab course as well, but it's something I've definitely touched on in other Proko videos. Writing is a major part of my own process. Hold on just a second. Good. Open up there we go. Yeah, writing is a big part of my. Oh, thanks, John, for turning off the music. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna put on some music on my. I'm gonna play DJ Scott. Let me know if that's too loud, guys. I just put it on my phone here.
When I moved to California, I had a friend out there, my scarlet Begonia, Hollywood affair. I got caught up in the big wave, riding that big wave, but my heart was beating different. I knew it wasn't you. You're on the path, and you tell yourself you just keep on moving, even if you hurt someone. Life don't last that long. Stayed high up in the mountains, but I couldn't find my rest. I drank heavy from that fountain till I couldn't feel my chest. So many people, so much chatter, but nothing to fit my goals. Need lightness in my body, colors to show my soul. Free, yeah, you're on the path, and you tell yourself you need. Just keep on moving.
I turn it down a bit so it's not competing with. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Life don't last that long.
Let me change the input or where it's coming from. Okay. Is that a little better, Zena? Zena? Yeah. I have it coming out of the stereo instead of out of my phone because it's further behind me.
Life don't last that long. Life don't last that long.
Okay. Let's match up these sides. Thanks, Zena. So now I'm on the other side, okay, and it looks like shit, right? So it's one reason you're going to spin it, so you can compare the two sides. But first thing I need to do is lay down that same kind of primer. So I'm going to go through and kind of quickly lay in these pellets and kind of smear them across so I get something to stick to. My buddy Silvano Matthews is a musician and sound designer at Turtle Rock Studios. He made a sick playlist for our hunting group of friends. He makes a different playlist for us each time we go out on one of our adventures. How many of you guys in here actually sculpt? And what do you use? What kind of material? Be interested to see it. Not just armature, what kind of, let me move my mic closer, maybe that'll help. It's nice having the music, but I understand it's kind of obscuring my voice. Turn down more. But yeah, anybody do any sculpting? Does anybody do any sculpting in here? And if so, what kind of material do you use? Chavant, nice. Monster clay. It's cool. Interesting. What's natural clay? Do you mean from the earth? Does that even mean like from a river and stuff? That's cool. My buddy Robert, you want to do that? Cynics. He goes, I like that. Cynics, man. He was suggesting we do that sometime. I was like, what? That sounds crazy. But I'd be interested to try it. It's a pretty cool idea. Nature clay straight from the background. That's hardcore. Cool. That's admirable. This is one of those areas where that little primer of that I find tough. Like here at the basically the back of the foot, the heel. What's really the heel on a horse? Is trying to get the clay to not like roll off of the hand. I've only used Chavant one time, and it was for a Simon Lee workshop. I mean, this is a lot like it, what I'm using right here. I think has some similar qualities to Chavant. At the Yasgut. What time is it? I'm supposed to go. What time? Shit, 3:54. Okay, I'm supposed to go soon. I've got a little bank stuff that I've got in.
Hey Scott, do you need me to end the stream?
It's almost 4.
Yeah.
Are we doing another week of it next week, John?
I don't think
down,
so.
No.
But if you want to complete this, I'm sure we could have like another stream, a special stream session for you on the Proko 3D channel.
That would be cool because it's nice to have the stream to kind of motivate me to do it. You know.
Absolutely.
That-
Yeah.
that,
Just
and,
yeah, I guess just reach out to me and tell me a time that would work, and we can try to fit you in.
okay.
Cool.
Okay, guys. Well, I guess, you know, it looks like I'm really only getting my horse block, and I do actually like it, though. It's starting to look pretty cool. But the whole point, yeah, is to get a character on there or get a rider on there. So hopefully we could do another stream. I'd like to do that. Maybe 1 or 2 more or something if they're down. 1 more minimum, or I could at least have the armature all ready to go and have made progress. And then could maybe the last stream could be kind of like finishing it or something, you know, something like that.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, Scott, do you have any final thoughts before I end the stream?
No, not necessarily. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I always appreciate people tuning in to offer support. Thank you for your support to me and to Stan and to this stream, this fundraising event over the week. And if you have had a chance and you feel so inclined, there's a bunch of different tiers that you guys can, you know, to choose from in terms of, you know, support. There's like $10, you know, $20 all the way up to original artwork you could purchase, and mentorship opportunities. I'm offering a couple of those. Anything you give would be cool. If you've ever found any value in what Stan and the Proko team do, it's a good opportunity right now to show some appreciation, you know, to show some thanks to Stan, as this is very dear to his heart. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Appreciate it, Scott.